an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 8, Episode 5, Time Heist. In this episode, I don't really know, I was about to make a joke, but it didn't really work. God, what a bad intro. It's been 2 weeks since we recorded on this. I'm out of practice. Everybody just bear with us. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Jamie.
So, sorry everybody that we've been gone for a minute. The first one was my fault. The second one was Jamie's fault. And overall, I think we're even. And we can all just get back to our regularly scheduled programming and nothing will ever go wrong again. And we will never miss another episode. Thank you, and you're welcome. That is not true. So, Jamie, tell me what you thought of this episode the first time you saw it.
This is another one that I'm not sure I actually watched.
Oh my god. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do when you tell me that. Like, what do...
And it's weird because I am a huge fan of anything to do with a heist. I love a heist.
Same.
I love heist movies. I love heist TV shows. Six of Crows is a heist book.
Mm-hmm.
So this is right up my alley, and I think I was in that place where I was like, I think I'm done with Doctor Who, and so I wasn't watching it weekly, and when I did that whole binge, I don't remember watching this one, so I might have skipped it. Or maybe they didn't air it, because it was a marathon. Maybe they didn't air it. But I had no memory of this one. And it's all right. It's not a bad episode. It's pretty fun, inconsequential.
Yeah, I guess inconsequential is a pretty good word for it. But it was like, it felt more organized to me than episodes have previously, where it can feel sometimes like they were making it up as they went along and they never went back and revised anything. Mm-hmm. I will say I'm covering Broadchurch, and the dude who plays Oliver is here as a augmented human being / slacker, hacker commentary.
I did not realize that was him.
Oh,
but
my
God. I kept thinking, that guy's really cute. And then not looking him up.
I really thought that you were going to come in with that information, like hot. That's amazing.
Wow.
Because, yeah, that's like, the instant I saw him in profile, I was like, is that Oliver? And honestly, I think he's much cuter on this than he is in Broadchurch, which I don't really know what that means, but that's just how I felt about it.
Maybe the hair?
It might be. And also they have him like with a little bit more of like a bad boy attitude versus like in Broadchurch, he's a little bit less sure of himself, at least initially. So yeah, it might just be the confidence factor. But, and other than that, I didn't recognize the black woman who plays the shifter.
Sabra. I didn't recognize her either.
And then the woman who is the like main event, who it turns out like owns the bank and whatnot, just felt a lot like the eye patch lady to me. There's like a very strong, similar vibe. And I thought it was kind of weird that they decided to go with like not only a vibe so similar, but a look so similar. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly like definitive and it makes an impression, and I feel like gets across what you're trying to get across in shorthand really well. But it is sort of, it was a little distracting to me because of how similar she seemed, that I had to remind myself, like, no, this woman's much younger than that woman, so it's not the same actress, because there was a moment there where I kind of was like, is this just the same woman? Are we doing a character like comeback thing? And even when he says something about how like when you're an older woman and you're going to have regrets, I was like, oh my God, is she going to be like eye patch lady in the future? I really I don't know. I feel like that kind of could have worked, actually. Might have been onto something there. But
I wonder how they would have even attempted to tie that in, though.
I mean, I don't think it would have worked. Like, it just... I think that not picking somebody who looks so similar for that idea to be in my head in the first place would really be the thing.
Yeah.
But what can you do? So, yeah, and then the name of the episode just being called Time Heist, I was very much, like, excited and prepared to enjoy myself. And I did, but it was a little bit more, upsetting than I expected. Because a heist I often think of as, like, rollicking.
Yeah.
And this wasn't really, because there's a evil monster, or so we think, that eats your brain. Well, eats your mind, which is somehow worse. You know?
Yeah, this poor monster who's being held captive and tortured.
Mm-hmm.
And used for some rich person's device.
Yep. Yeah, did not love that. So, we start the episode off with the doctor. He is hanging out in, oh my god. Help.
The TARDIS?
No. The name of the girl.
Clara.
Thank you. Fuck. I can't believe I forgot her name. I was about to call her Charlotte, and that's all I could think. You ever have that where you're like, I know that's not right, but I can literally not remember another name that starts with C? I don't know what happened, but it was like my brain just completely deleted files. But he's hanging out in her flat. Have we ever been here before? I think we have, actually.
Yes.
She had to come back here after the date.
Yeah.
But we haven't spent much time here, because every time that we had seen her, like last season, she was at the friend's house.
Yeah.
Whose kids she's been watching. Which is actually really, like, considering that our complaint has been that they don't let her be enough of her own person, the fact that we have never seen where she lived before this season is really, like, says something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's getting dressed for her date, and she's wearing a pretty sexy, like, shirt, tie, blazer combo, which I actually really enjoyed a lot.
I think it's the first time we've seen her in pants.
Is it?
It might be.
Oh my god. I never noticed that she's in skirts all the time.
Yeah, I feel like she's always in little dresses or little skirts.
Huh, okay. And yeah, she's, like, trying to get the doctor to notice that she looks cute, and he is not paying any attention and doesn't seem to have any of the, like, understanding of looking cute and putting makeup on that he had when he was in his other iterations. And it's weird to me how this is the thing we're going to do now, where he doesn't understand why she's wearing high heels. Mm-hmm. And because you have to reach something on a shelf. Doctor, you can't tell me that you can, like, look at a different species and remember its, like, mating habits. And you don't know why human beings wear high heels, sir. You know. What are you doing? Stop playing dumb. It's weird. And then we go to her talking to Mr. Pink, and they are setting up their second date. And there's a lot of chemistry between them, and there's kind of a bit of a look. And in the midst of this, when they are about to kiss, some kid walks in. And we just see the two of them just yell out to the kid. And I'm like, honestly, kid, you should, like, blackmail them with that. That could be some really good leverage, actually, if you decided to use it that way. But lucky for them, this kid is not as, what's the word I want? Of
Devious?
low moral character as I am. So, good for him. So she's about to leave for her date and just basically be like, I don't know, find a way to entertain yourself, Doc. And then the phone on the TARDIS begins to ring. And they go back and forth about how he shouldn't answer it, but he does. And a second after he does, they are both sitting at a table holding weird worms that it turns out have erased their memory. And they are with two other people, and a recording is played very quickly to inform them that they consented to having their memories erased. And we find out later that it is because of the sensors in the bank. They can detect that you have like criminal plans and thoughts. And so this is something that they have done for their own protection. And the whole thing with the director is that he is somebody pulling the strings and setting this up, and they don't know who it is.
The architect.
That's right. Thank you. Did anybody have any doubt that it was a doctor? Come on, right? Am I wrong?
I thought at first, because I've watched this a couple of times, the first time I watched it, I thought, before it was revealed, like, it's either the doctor or it's going to lead us to, like, we might find out, but he doesn't find out, this, like, big bad. So I thought maybe it would be, like, somebody we've already been seeing, like Missy.
Okay. Yeah, I just, like, I don't know.
Because the voice was modulated, too. So I was thinking, like, they've been peppering her in. So it's either going to be that this was something that the doctor set up himself, or this is something that she's manipulating for whatever reason, because we don't know what her deal is.
That's true. We still have no idea what is going on with her. And he says something, too, about, like, the lady who works in a bookshop is the only one who has the number. And we don't know what her deal is either. I don't think that's the same woman as here, because this is an additional person he gave the number to, right? So when he says that, that is not what's true later.
This whoever was calling, since it turned out that he's the one who set this whole thing up, I mean, it could have been him calling.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think of that. I thought that it was her, but no, that makes sense. Yeah, you're right. So they are all at this table trying to figure out what the fuck they are here for. And, they get first we cut to credits, and then we get informed about this ridiculous bank. And it's got a very, like, Ocean's 11 explaining why the, Bellagio is, like, the worst place to steal from, and here's why we're going to steal from them.
Oh man, now I want to go watch that movie.
Honestly, I can't, like, I don't care which of the Ocean's movies it is. I still enjoy it so much.
Did you watch Ocean's 8?
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed it. Like, none of them are as fun as the first Ocean's 11.
No, not quite.
But I enjoyed that movie a lot.
Same.
And honestly, every time I think about Anne Hathaway's performance in it, I want to watch it again.
She's so good.
She's so good.
And Rihanna's in it, and she looks fine as fuck.
And I die over... I'm pretty sure that Cate Blanchett made me a little bit bisexual from that movie. She walks out in that green suit at the end, and I was like, oh god, I am feeling things I have not felt.
I just wish she'd get her bangs out of her eyes. That's the one thing.
It's a look, though.
It is a look, and that's what's so annoying is I actually really like the look in its way, but it just drives me nuts, too, you know? Like, so, yeah, this place, it's almost like a pyramid, and, it's got all of these sensors and the giant, like, cursive K as its logo, which we wind up seeing everywhere, which honestly isn't a great logo. Like, you would really think they would be able to find a designer that would do slightly better work. But they seem to be, like, sort of a law unto themselves, this bank. You, like, by entering their premises, basically, like, have forfeited the right to them incinerating you if they feel like it. And there is no, like, legal recourse. It does not appear.
Yeah.
You know? At one point when they, like, take that guy's whole mind, she's like, yeah, we're going to inform your next of kin and also incarcerate them so that we can send a message about how not to fuck with us. And I was like, man, y'all shouldn't be able to do that. Isn't there some organization that we can, a watchdog? Come on, somebody step up here.
Some galactic enforcer.
Yeah, you know, I don't know, something. But, they are each like figuring out what their particular strengths are and why they were assigned to this heist. And it turns out that the guy who is altered, he is a hacker and he specialized in bank robberies.
His name is Sai.
Sai, thank you. And the woman can touch somebody and then transforms into them.
Yes, because she's a mutant human, and her mutation allows her to change into any living thing she touches. Mm-hmm. I would assume that means every living person, but we don't get a lot of... Can she turn into alien creatures or a plant?
I would
which is
love
a living
it if she
thing.
could transform into a plant. Although, if you can transform into a plant, you don't have like muscle movement to touch somebody to transform back out of that again. So
Right.
you just have to trust that somebody's going to come and touch you and free you from your plant prison.
Well, I don't think she has to touch somebody to turn back into herself.
Oh, you don't?
I don't think so.
I guess I didn't think of that. But maybe
Because
you're right.
if you touch another person, you're going to turn into them. But she is able to turn back into
no,
herself.
You're right. You're right. I'm thinking like they touch you and you turn into them, and then they touch you again and you turn back into yourself. But we see later that she's able to like transform from one person to another, and she doesn't like go back and find. So yeah, I don't know why.
And
I
I think she can transform into anybody that she's touched. I'm not positive about that. I might have made that up. Not sure.
Oh, that's dope. Oh my god, I would really become a celebrity stalker. And just run up behind them at restaurants and just swoosh them, like maybe on the arm or something, and then I would be able to turn into any gorgeous person.
Who would you pick?
To look like?
Yeah, if you could turn into somebody with this power for a day.
It's such a fraught thing because I might want to look exactly like somebody, but I would also attract way too much attention because they are a celebrity. Mm-hmm. And so it would be a real double-edged sword because then people would be like, oh, we spotted so-and-so out at the, McDonald's in fucking Denison, Texas. What are they doing there? And they would have to go and be like, I'm right here still in LA at my fucking mansion. I don't know who that is.
Okay, well, take out all of these, like, what would happen in reality. You could just go up behind a celebrity and touch them and then look like them for the rest of the day. Who would you pick? Just to see
Clara.
what it's like. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I'd look like Clara. She's just so pretty. I can't handle it.
I feel like I would go with, like, Charlize.
She's so skinny.
She's so tall.
Is she? How tall is she?
She was a model. I think she's like 5'11".
I didn't know that.
She's so tall and she's so beautiful.
Although I'm saying that Clara's skinny, I'm sure too. It's hard to tell on camera.
Clara's very skinny, but she's tiny.
Yeah.
But Charlize Theron was a model before she was an actress. And I believe she also might have been a ballet dancer or something.
Oh.
I don't know. I just think she's fucking stunning.
No, she definitely is. Yeah, I think that's a good choice. Also, perhaps Rihanna, who I have aforementioned as just being just so hot. It's like ridiculous.
Okay, what about opposite sex? You had to be a dude.
Man.
I'd go with Evans.
Oh, of course you would.
I just want to know what it's like to be Chris Evans for a day.
Jason Momoa.
Okay.
I would want to be really intimidating and big. I just like the idea of stepping in someplace and literally everybody being like, whoa, that's a big guy. Like that kind of immediate gut response of no, he's not doing anything threatening, but his presence has me on edge a little bit. I like that idea. Honestly, I like that idea as a woman also, which is just part of who I am. But,
and yet you picked Clara, who is teeny tiny.
Well, I have that a little bit already, so I don't need to dial into any, other person for that. That's just part of me. So, anyway, okay. So this is when we get our first look at, what is her name? Delphox? Deepox? Ms. Delphox. Yeah, Delphox, because she has a little nameplate on her desk.
I did not remember that was her name. I was like, wait, are you talking about the mutant girl again? Because her name is Sabra.
No, this lady with her amazing, like, 1930s style hair. Oh, I need to try and, like, do this sort of, it's like a French twist that goes up the back of the head, and then all of the hair piles up on the crown of the head. And it's this really distinctive look that is so, like, elegant and, like, vaguely sexy, but not in, like, a bedroom sexy kind of way. And I've always loved it. Olivia Newton-John has this look for a moment in Xanadu.
I knew you were going to say Xanadu.
Yeah, when she's, like, he's watching TV and she appears in the television.
I've never
in, like,
seen that movie.
a 1930s, like, gangster movie. And she looks awesome with that hair. And I remember even as a kid being like, oh, I need to try that. And I never have. I don't know why.
I've never seen Xanadu. What is it about?
Oh, my God. Jamie, please watch Xanadu.
There's roller skating or something, right?
Yes. Yes, there is. It's
music?
one of my favorite movies of all time. So good.
Is it streaming anywhere? I'll have to look it up and see.
I think it is.
I am a fan of 70s and 80s Olivia Newton-John.
Okay.
As most people should be. And I have somehow never seen that movie. Yet I have seen that one that she made with John Travolta, which I think was called Two of Hearts, which is not a good movie. I think you're thinking of
Grease. Thank you.
No, that too. She made another movie with him. Where I think he plays like a dying... I don't know. I can't remember, but it's got a really great song from it. And it's not a good movie. It came out in the 80s.
Grease is the worst. Ugh. And so, okay, what Xanadu is about is this kid who is an artist is beginning to really, like, struggle with inspiration. And this woman turns up, and it turns out that she is an actual muse. And he is trying to, like, help inspire him to his next, like, great project. But they fall in love with each other. But, of course, they can't be together because she's not human, essentially. And that's what it's about. But, like, you will forget that that's what it's about because it's very barely about that, honestly.
Oh, it's on Hulu and Amazon, so...
There it is.
I don't have any excuse.
And it is... Gene Kelly's in it?
Really?
And it's got some of the best music. And there's a song where there are two different genres that, like, kind of play at the same time. And it's one of my favorite things that's ever happened in any musical because it's so smoothly done and works so well. And every time that somebody asks, like, I know you don't like most musicals, but what's one you like? I never think of Xanadu, and I should because it is. And it's like an original music. I don't know what my problem is.
There's not really anyone else in it that I've ever heard of.
No, and the main guy sucks. So just be prepared to, like, sort of hate him a little bit.
Okay.
Which is often the case in romances before, 2015? The men mostly suck, and we're supposed to sort of be fine with that. Anyway...
Oh, Gene Kelly was handsome.
Oh, he was a fine man with a fine ass. There's a whole Tumblr just about his ass, and it's worthwhile.
Somebody I follow on Twitter, and I can't remember who now, tweeted a picture of his ass. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a guy, and they were like, I mean, best ass.
Mm-hmm. It's, yeah, he's older in this, but, you know, still, nevertheless, he's still very, like, attractive. He's still like, oh, you know, if I were an older lady, I would definitely be side-eyeing this dude and be like, what's up? All right, so they find out what their respective skills are, and they decide that they are going to go to this bank, and they sort of, like, are going into it knowing that they're meant to rob it, but they don't really know, like, anything more than the private vault. They don't know what's in it, or why they're being sent to get it. And they gradually, begin to understand what their rewards are going to be as the thing progresses. Mm-hmm. And it's like the doctor is the last one to not really know like what it is he's supposed to get out of it. Which becomes clear later why it is that he does not seem to be considered in that fashion. So yeah, they have already agreed to doing this, obviously, and they are on tape doing it, so they kind of don't have a choice. And when they head in there, the first thing that happens is a person gets pulled over, essentially. I can't think of a better way to say it. Inside the bank, it looks like a train station. It's huge. Yeah. And there's sort of a weird, like, camera thing that happens when they first come in, too. And I feel like this is them trying to imitate the heist genre with the way they're filming. With that sort of, like, showing you the layout, zooming in on our people, then the slow motion badass walk inside kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the place locks down. And there's somebody yelling, banking floor, locking down, like the announcer. And here comes this lady in her immaculate skirt suit. Looks so good. And they circle around this dude. And the guy has a very guilty air. He's like trying to play it off. I have no idea what you're talking about. But I mean, you don't even need to be able to read minds to know this dude was hiding something, and he is not a good actor. And they bring out this alien who's got pronged eyes, like that come out on stalks. Not stalks.
His eyes look like they're on, like, elephant trunks.
Yeah, I see that. They do look like elephant trunks. Yeah. It's real creepy. I do not care for this. So this woman brings the creature up to this guy and is like, well, the teller, as he's called, will now scan your thoughts for any criminal intent. And I do enjoy that he's called the teller. It's pretty clever, actually. And the teller begins to read his mind, can tell that he is indeed guilty. And then, as punishment for this man, and a reward for the teller gets to eat his mind after basically, like, liquefying it. It's horrifying. The man's skull caves in, and he's left alive afterwards, but, like, there's no real reason for it. Like, he should have been killed. It's not... Him continuing to live is just cruel at this point. Like, especially considering, like, his family is going to be incarcerated. It's not like they are going to have any feelings on the subject because they are going to be locked up. Perhaps also executed, because I don't know. I don't trust this lady. And I just... Seeing, like, his whole skull caved in, it is just so gross. And whatever it is that the creature does to, like, turn his brain into soup, as he keeps calling it, affects Sai's, like, augmentation. And this comes up, like, a few times in the episode. He keeps, like, having sort of short circuits and connection issues, for lack of a better way of saying it. And yeah, when Clara at one point says something about how this guy is crying, the doctor's like, no, that's not tears. That's, like, his mind coming out of his eyes, which is really horrible. Apologies for the disturbance. Everyone have a lovely day. And she leaves and feels, it looks like she's very pleased with herself. They being the people who work at the bank, think that they've settled things because they caught this guy. But they begin to realize that somebody else is getting through all of their security as well. And she says something about how, like, well, if we we can't be fired. And as soon as she said fired, I was like, oh, okay, they're lit on fire. Because in the UK, they always say sacked. They always say sacked. The fact that she kept saying fired, I was just like, that's literal. They were going to find out that they have literal fire that they use. And indeed, that is correct later on.
That didn't even occur to me.
Yeah, I don't know why I even really noticed, to be honest, but it just stuck out to me. I think because sacked, there's something about it that for me is a lot more like, it captures the emotion more than being fired. Being fired sounds like, there's the term fire is associated with passion and a sort of like, anger, temper. And that's rarely what it is. Sacked is much more like you were tossed in the trash.
Yeah.
And that's a lot more what it feels like, usually. It's just you were discarded, So, I don't know. It's always been, like, to me, a more accurate word. Even though I don't really use it. I always say fired, but... Anyway, so, yeah. They look at the bank schematic, which Mr. Augment can... summon up with his weird attachments on the side of his head.
Yeah, because when they were still in that room, he didn't have to have his memory wiped because he's augmented, so he can actually delete those files.
Right, I forgot about that.
And so he downloads the instructions into his head, which have, like, the bank blueprints or whatever on them.
Right. So yeah, he's able to project the like plans for the bank and everything right on the wall. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to like, I'm in the place, which I find happens a lot when I'm covering this show, where after you set up the initial, like what the episode is about and the main thrust of things, it's easiest to jump right to the end and talk about where we wound up, because the middle can get so like muddied and muddled and muddery.
It's like sometimes this show could have been 35 minutes.
Yeah, maybe that is all it is. It's just like, because that's not like, when I say that, that's not what I intended to say. It's just like, oh, it feels like there's a lot of filler. But I guess that when you boil it down is what I'm saying. So
yeah, there's a lot of like, and they almost got caught, and then they almost got caught.
Yeah,
and then they almost got caught.
That is just essentially what it is. And each of them has what the doctor keeps calling like an escape plan, a contingency plan, which initially looks like them committing suicide.
Yeah.
But it turns out isn't, and I don't really understand how that worked.
They believed that they were, instead of getting caught and having their minds turned into soup, they were killing themselves. Right. But really what it did was teleport them to the TARDIS.
And so the doctor also thought that they were killing themselves. Right, because he's actually surprised when they turn up later.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the contingency plan. Like, if they are caught, there is no way out. So This is the choice you make.
That's clever. I like that. That you think that you're killing yourself, but you're actually just like going somewhere else to finish out the plan in another way later. Surprise. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. Also, there's a whole thing with like the doctor deciding that he's going to be in charge and all of them sort of trying to resist that, but it becoming clearer over and over again how he is meant to be the guy in charge. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that like part of me is like, oh my God, you guys get the doctor's dick out of your mouth for fuck's sake. But then there's also people there are people who just do do better in leadership positions and tend to take charge. And speaking as one of those people, it's really hard to shake, and that happens. And I did sort of enjoy, like, everybody resenting it for a second and then finally being like, yeah, all right, fine. Because, like, I feel like this episode did a better job of showing why he should be in that position, whereas other episodes, everyone seems to just accept that he's the leader, and there's no questioning of it at all, and I don't feel like they set it up well, which feels like they're taking too much for granted. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I liked that here they push back, and the show goes, like, takes some pains to demonstrate, no, okay, here's why. So this thing is apparently, like, let loose in the bank building, this creature, this alien.
Well, they've figured out that there's some sort of break-in.
Right.
And where the thieves are.
Right.
So they set him down there to find these culprits because he'll just turn their brains to soup.
So he's wandering around looking for criminal thoughts. There's a conversation between Clara and Sai where he says that he, like, deleted all of the memories of his family and friends from his mind because it was a danger for him to have them in his head. And I really enjoyed that, like, the idea of, like, sacrificing even the knowledge of them for their own safety. Mm-hmm. That is I know that is a trope that comes up plenty of times, but because it's not dwelled on here, it felt somehow more affecting to me. It's, like, not the plot, you know? That's just a thing that this, like, side character is dealing with. And for some reason, I found it all the more moving because it's not really, like, the main issue. Later on, when he chooses to, like, what he thinks is commit suicide, he says to Clara, like, hey, don't worry about it. I don't even, like, have anybody that I'm thinking of who will miss me. Or, you know, he doesn't feel like he's sacrificing the way that she would feel like she were. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty well done, actually.
He's actually really good in this.
Mm-hmm. He is, yeah. And at the same time that she's having that conversation with him about his thing, we get the conversation with the doctor and, what's her name again?
Sabra,
like the hummus.
And spelled differently, but sure.
And she's explaining that, like, she can't be intimate with anybody, and I mean that in every sense of the word, not just sexually, because of the fact that she touches them and she turns into them, and understandably that's a problem for people. Mm-hmm. And so she's got kind of like a rogue thing going on here in a way. Yeah,
I thought of that too. It's, like, similar but completely different, because Rogue, like, takes their life force, doesn't she?
Yep. Yeah, she will literally kill you. And so the doctor, like, at the end of the episode, he winds up gifting her this, like, DNA alteration fluid to make it so that she can touch people, and that doesn't happen.
It's a gene supplement, or suppressant.
Suppressant, right.
To stabilize her shape-changing.
What does he give to Sai?
Sai...
Does he get a hard drive of all the memories of his family
and
friends?
He gets a circuit that can restore his deleted memories.
Okay. So yeah, we get a little bit of the backstory on these two guys, and then we have them, like, wandering into the room where the cell is, where this creature is kept, and sort of, like, just stumbling into the baddest situation. And the whole thing is you're supposed to, like, keep your mind blank so that it can't zero in on you. And I just would like to present, as my personal opinion, that is literally not possible.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't care how good at meditation you are. That's still, something's going on in your brain anyway. Like, doesn't matter.
And I think if you, now this thing, it senses guilt. So maybe if you were able to meditate, you'd be able to have your brain focused on one thing and not guilty things. Mm-hmm. In theory. But if you're in a high-stress situation, you're not going to be able to meditate.
No. Unless you're like a superhero. And
right.
That's not supposed to be who Clara is.
Right. So clearing your mind. And it's like when you tell somebody, don't think of this. Mm-hmm. That's all you're going to think of.
Quick, don't think of a pink elephant.
Right. Or don't itch that because you'll scar yourself. Well,
right.
You're going to fucking itch it. Because we're humans and we're stupid and we can't help ourselves.
Because we're humans and we're stupid. I like it.
Did you ever have chicken pox?
Oh, yes, I did. Ugh.
I had them when I was 5. And the only thing I remember is that I itched a chicken pox by my eyebrow. And it popped.
Oh,
and
God.
my mom freaked out. And started yelling at me to not do that because it's going to leave scars. Don't itch the chicken pox. So she scared me, and I didn't itch any more of my chicken pox. So I have this one little scar next to my eyebrow from my chicken pox that I actually really like a lot. So it worked out okay.
I have 2 scars on my nose from chicken pox.
Really?
Yep. And it's the kind of thing that I like forget that's what they're from all the time. And then I'm like, wow, because they're still pretty noticeable.
Yeah, the one by my eyebrow is noticeable enough.
Yeah.
But it's just one little divot.
Really makes you wonder what people used to look like because, like, we know enough to not do things to scar ourselves now. But people must have looked a fucking mess, man.
Well, haven't you seen there are some people who have, like, horrible pox scars?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of what I mean. Like, we have, like,
face.
We have knowledge now.
Yeah.
And we're still seeing that happen.
It's because it's itchy.
Yeah. So, like, what was it like? No dental care. No fucking Clearasil. Nobody telling you not to scratch or you'll scar. I mean, if I went back in time, I'd probably be like a fucking supermodel.
Yeah. We glorify the past, but it was smelly and dirty and
I literally did an episode of Unsober called The Past Sucked, in which Rashawn and I recounted all of the ways in which modern technology has made our lives better, because we love to act like we used to live during a more legitimate time, and now everything's all, ugh. And no. Mm-mm. I reject that notion. I've been rewatching True Blood, and do you remember, have you watched that show?
Only the first season. I didn't like that show.
Okay. Wow, did you hear that?
Yeah, is that thunder?
Yeah, shit. I didn't know we were supposed to get a storm today. Wow, can we get a break? That would be great if we could just not have fucking weather events for a week.
Look, a rainstorm is not going to knock out your power for 2 days.
You say that, but I have lost my power during rainstorms more than once in this house.
Really?
Oh, yeah. This house doesn't have a great connection to the grid. I don't know what the deal is there. But I will say at least it's above the age of or above the temperature of 30 degrees right now. Anyway, there's a character on True Blood that I think she is in the first season that Jason Stackhouse gets involved with, and she is played by the chick from Mean Girls, who's got the piercings and the dark hair and everything.
Oh, Lacey Kaplan.
Thank you. And she says something about how, your place is so much more authentic because, it's not from modern technology when everything got all messed up. It's back in a more legitimate time. And she's just the fucking worst. And I just watched that episode yesterday and I was like, oh my God. And I fucking know people who talk and think like this. And I just want to slap and shake them.
I think about how hard it was to write a paper in high school because I had to research and I had to use the library and find books that actually had something about what I was trying to write a paper on.
Yep.
And how now you just Google it. Mm-hmm. And there's so much information out there. And how much easier that is.
Just fucking little things like when you were in school and especially college, you didn't know that your like class was canceled till you showed up.
Yeah.
You know, and then there'd be like a note on the door or something. Whereas now they send out like an email blast and everybody knows and they don't even get out of bed in the morning. You know, they don't get up and get dressed and do their makeup and eat breakfast and then walk a mile to the fucking campus like I had to do and then realize that they didn't need to do any of that and there's 4 hours until their next class. For example,
if there was a pandemic when I was in high school, I can't imagine how we would have done classes.
Oh my God, not happening.
Yeah, we all just would have been delayed a year. Or 2.
You would have all died because they wouldn't have canceled anything.
Yeah.
Which sounds more likely, honestly, at this point.
Well, Clinton was president when I was in high school, so he probably would have taken a little more care than the guy who didn't.
The guy who didn't.
I don't say that guy's name, so.
That's fair. So this thing starts to like sweep and discover all of their secrets and read their brains because he's very hungry and wants some num-nums. And eventually, Sabra is the one that like gets locked on. And I believe that she has to sacrifice herself here because there is no way of getting out of this. Mm-hmm. And it's a pretty awful scene because you don't know that she's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this because I didn't see this coming at all. You know, there's a lot that I've like sort of get a sense of, yeah, that's not something I need to worry about. But this wasn't one of them. I really thought everybody was dying and that they were just here to be the red shirt who dies on the mission, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, and the way that she dies, it should have been like a hint to me that she wasn't, because there is a like effect that happens that looks like a teleportation or something. Mm-hmm. But I was just like, oh, whatever. It was a laser that burned her to death. You know,
he tells her it's an atomic shredder.
Oh,
so
I forgot that he says that. So that really kind of explains the look of it.
Yeah,
yeah,
which looks like teleportation, but also could be your atoms being shredded.
Ooh. And we have a moment in the hallway after they get away where Sai is very like salty with the doctor for being able to move on to the next stage of the mission without really like expressing any emotion over her death. And it's a weird thing because like he didn't know that she wasn't dead. So the like professional detachment is genuine. He is really just moving on because, well, that happened. What can you do? So
they're doing this thing with the doctor this season, too, where he's much colder in that respect than previous doctors have been.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think I appreciate it because it's always been present, but it just hasn't really been acknowledged enough. It feels like for me, a lot of the time when they try and make the doctor feel a way about somebody's death, it'll feel too tacked on. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it always feels like it comes after. So we know that he is able to compartmentalize and not really like think about it or worry about it until the plot allows him to. And there's always a sense to me of like, yeah, but there was also a bunch of other people involved in whatever happened this episode, and you didn't feel any way about that. You're just thinking about this one particular person, which leads me to believe that you just don't actually care as much as I want you to. So I kind of like that they're drawing attention to this here, because it doesn't really feel like it's like a whole new characterization. It's just them being a little bit more honest about the way he has come across this whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that.
So, yeah, till then, what you need is me. And this is, I think it's just like another moment. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because Clara says here, underneath it all, he isn't really like that. And he says, you can tell that you've been with him for a long time. And she says, what do you mean by that? And he says, because you're very good with the excuses. Which was actually a pretty good line. I thought that was a bit of a burn, personally.
Yeah, well, he's not buying into the doctor's stuff the way a lot of people just immediately think the doctor's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And I like that, I think there's some truth to that as well. Like, the longer that you know somebody, you can, it can be both an excuse and a reason. Like, I think there is something to, well, he's like this because, and there's valid reasons for that. But also, there is a point at which it does transform from a reason to an excuse. And you have to realize, like, he is a grown man who could take more responsibility for the way that he behaves, though.
Yeah.
So, anyway, eventually they wind up getting cornered by this thing. And Sai is the one who has to take his pill. And there's a, very tense scene up until that point, but I won't go into that because it really isn't super necessary. And then the doctor finally realizes there's this moment where the power begins to flicker. And he realizes that there is an electrical storm, is it?
It's a solar storm.
A solar storm. And this is going to bring down all of the security measures in the bank, and that they have been sent back in time to the exact moment of the storm so that they would be able to get around the security measures that are always in place. Which I thought this was a really neat idea.
Yeah. Weren't they looking for something in particular?
What do you, they were looking for the vault that has the mate in it, the teller's mate.
Right. So it's really just that sometime in the future, the Carabraxis woman, whose bank this is, does call the doctor.
Right.
And give him this information. And so he then travels back to that moment so he can save these two creatures because they're the last ones.
Right, exactly. But I thought the whole travel back to the time where there was a storm.
Yeah.
I thought that was clever.
And the storm is going to destroy the bank too.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that the whole bank is on the line, so they would die otherwise. Yeah.
Right.
And so, he figures this out and he winds up in the main vault. And he is the main vault, the private vault, I think it's called.
It's the private vault.
When they get in there, it turns out that the bank owner is in there. And it is the same woman that we have seen dealing with shit from the beginning, but it's not the same woman. She has had a bunch of clones made of herself. Mm-hmm. Because the only way to ensure the security of the place was to make sure that they were all her. And, honestly, that's a fucking whole mood. Jamie and I were just talking about this before we started recording.
It's true.
And if I could clone myself, that would be perfection, literal perfection. I would love to just be able to assign myself to getting other things done. It'd be great.
Right. What we were talking about is that we are both control freaks who have a hard time delegating.
Yep.
And that we don't trust anybody else really to do what we need the way we need it at the time we need it. At least that's how I feel about me. Running a store of people, it's hard for me to trust that they're going to do things correctly, and I end up trying to do everything myself, which is exhausting and makes me end up in therapy. So I'm now being told to delegate more, which I'm trying to do. And Natasha doesn't have that because she doesn't have a staff. So it's much harder for you to delegate things.
Yeah, I would love to have a staff someday.
Yeah.
Frequently when I like think to myself, like, exactly where do I want to get with like how much I'm making on Patreon? Because I'll be very comfortable living with so much a month. And then I'm like, yeah, I will. But the goal for me is to be able to hire people to do a lot of things so that I don't have to do editing, to do uploading and stuff. And so how much I would like to be making keeps rising because I would like to be able to employ people. I would love to be able to like pay all of my co-hosts and actually compensate them because this is work, you know, to do the show. So that's like, it's one of those things that I keep being like, all right, I feel like I'm where I want to be. And then when I really take a step back, I'm like, I'm really not. I am doing well for myself at this point and feel like much more stable. But actually, the goal would be to be able to like just send out my files to be edited and posted. And that'd be amazing. But again, in order to do that, I would need a clone of myself because I don't want to hand out all of my fucking passwords so that somebody can sign into my shit and post it.
You'd have to hire a producer. I listen to other podcasts where they're like, talk about their producers, and I'm like, producer? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. Yep, that is one of those things that I would love that in addition to just like them actually handling the editing, because a producer ensures that you remember to do fucking like segments and stuff. Because there have been so many times where I've been like, I would love to just do like a weekly segment for this show that's called such and such, where every week we talk about this. I never remember shit like that. It's not a priority in comparison to like recapping and discussion of that. Mm-hmm. But having a producer would ensure that like, oh, you know, I have all of the new patrons on a list here that I just sent to you for you to read. So you don't have to scramble and find that while you're talking to Jamie. Like all of that shit. It would be so nice. Someday, maybe.
Someday.
Also somebody to do with social media management. Because I'm just posting the exact same thing to every platform. And that's not really super ideal because all the platforms function very differently. It would be great if you could just click a link on an Instagram post, but they don't let you do that, which is insane. It's 2021 Instagram. Link in bio. Really? Come on.
Well, and then you can't click on the link in bio. You have to figure out how to copy it, and you can only do that from your phone because Instagram is not supposed to work very well on your desktop.
Well, the link in bio you can click on.
Can
but
you?
Usually the link in bio brings you to Linktree because they realize I can't just update this every single day because then somebody sees a post from yesterday and they click the link in bio and it brings them to the wrong place. So they do Linktree, which brings people to the same posts that they just saw on Instagram, basically, but laid out as links so that you can... What they do, Linktree just copies Instagram, but does it functionally, which Instagram should fucking do to begin with.
I'm sorry, do you have feelings about this?
I don't understand why they dig their heels in on this at all.
Instagram is supposed to be for photos.
And it doesn't even do that. It doesn't even do that. Okay? The photo quality on Instagram is garbage. If you go to somebody's Facebook posts, they're able to upload 3 times as many images to the post. So when I'm looking for stuff for like the wedding, I go to an Instagram because that's where I'm directed because that's the photo thing. But if I go to their Facebook, I see 30 times the number of images and they're larger and clearer because the resolution is better on Facebook. And I can save from my phone on Facebook, which I can't do from Instagram. I have to screenshot it. It's insane. The whole thing is supposed to be photos, and that's not even any good. I don't even know what the fuck. I am so angry, you guys. All these
turned into
platforms.
such a rant.
I hate it all. And they're both owned by Facebook now, and
Oh, yeah, so nothing functional is going to happen, because if something needs to happen, they're going to do the opposite of that.
Oh, I know.
That's
you know
how,
what? We bought Instagram, and they have a stories feature, so why don't we add the stories to Facebook? Why? Who asked for that? Nobody.
And the only reason that Instagram started stories is because they were competing with Snapchat.
Yep. And now, they have Reels. Oh, okay.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, so stories goes away at the end of the day, but you can highlight it so that it stays forever. What the fuck? Just make it a post. Then, secondly, you have Reels or you have IGTV.
Yeah.
So you can post a 30-second or I think up to a minute video on your post. You can post up to like 2 minutes maybe on Reels or up to 10 minutes on IGTV. Holy shit. Just make it all available for posting. Can we do that? No, we can't. Now I'm posting stories now on my Instagram. I don't want any part of this, but I have to be able to organize shit at the top of my feed in a way that I can go find it later if I feel like it.
But stories go away, right?
No, not if you save them as a highlight, Jamie. Then they're there forever. It's the stupidest shit. Why can't I just save a post to a category in highlights? I don't know. But evidently it's only for fucking stories. So anything that I want to save as a highlight, I have to post as a story now. It's trash. It's so confusing and for no reason. It doesn't add to the user experience. It doesn't add to the content quality. It's the stupidest shit and it makes me so angry. Oh, I'm so angry. I'm so angry right now. I wish I hadn't even brought it up. I'm sorry. How did we even get into this? Where did this come from?
I don't know. It's so funny. I'm sorry you're so mad about it, but it's really funny.
And they're like, oh, well, you can't post anything that's like not a perfect fucking square to Instagram. Now they have it so that you can like change it a little bit and you can, but if it's too far outside of the aspect ratio that they want, it still cuts off the top and bottom. Mm-hmm. And if you filmed a video upright, good luck. Like you have to get a whole other app to add sidebars to it to make it square so that you can see the entire video. I don't even know why I use Instagram, honestly. Like, I don't know why I do it. I do it, but why? They fucking conned me. Ugh, disgusted. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure TikTok out. I'm too goddamn old for this shit.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to let people send me fun TikToks that I should see or share them, and then I'll see them that way. But I'm not going to, because from what I understand, you can't search. You just have to scroll. No,
you can search, but it's like, yeah, but it's like the UI, in my opinion, is very confusing. But also, I'm just easily confused because I'm old now. So, don't listen to me.
Apparently, there's this dish that is really like making the rounds on TikTok, though, and like 3 of my friends made it last weekend, and I was like, what is this? And so one of my friends sent me the Washington Post article about it that had the recipe in it. And so I made it the other day. It was fucking delicious.
What, is that the one with the like melted feta square?
Yeah, it's a block of feta and cherry tomatoes and olive oil, garlic, red pepper flakes, salt and pepper. And then you bake it. All the tomatoes pop, and you mix it up. It turns into a sauce. You mix it with pasta. It's super simple and, like, just delicious. Mm-hmm. So easy.
Yeah, who knew? Cheese and tomatoes are good with pasta. Call the fucking press. Everybody, get over yourselves. Chill out.
It's because there's a bunch of kids that are just learning how to cook, and this is so easy. And then I read the article, and I was like, well, that sounds really yummy, so I'm going to give it a try. And then, like, Jason's like, Jamie made the TikTok challenge. And I was like, I don't even have TikTok.
I actually saw that on Instagram, not TikTok, so I don't even know.
Then my friend was like, that just looks like pasta, or what did she call it? Pasta Mediterranean? And I was like, well, I don't know what that is, but it sounds good. What's that? She sent me a recipe, and I was like, they're similar. They're not the same. But this sounds good, too, so I might make this now.
Yeah, the food trends on these things are so hilarious, because sometimes it'll be something they're like, oh, actually, okay, that does look good. And like that, like it's just, it's not like rocket science or anything, but yeah, pasta tastes good with cheese, yay. Mm-hmm. And then they'll do shit that I'm like, who thought this was like easier or better? Because they'll present it a lot of time, like, look how simple this is. I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And the one that had been going around a lot was like taking a tortilla, slicing like halfway through it, and then putting separate fillings on each quadrant and folding it in such a way so that it turned into a triangle and the cheese was on top and got melted on the frying pan. Like it stuck the whole thing together like glue, the way that it melted. And like, make a panini on fucking bread, guys. What are we doing? Why is this the thing that we all decide, like, oh, this is the... I mean...
Because people are stuck at home and they're bored.
Yeah, I guess that's because I'm not having that experience. I'm stuck at home, but I'm not bored because I always have too much to do. So that is maybe where the disconnect is for me, is I'm like, I just want to eat something. Why do we have to make this into a fucking production?
Well, do you remember last year at the beginning of the pandemic, everybody went crazy because they started learning how to make bread?
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, it took 6 weeks of bread making in pastry school. Congratulations. Are you actually making a sourdough starter, or are you just making bread?
Wow, you're an even bigger snob than me.
I don't like it if you call it sourdough and it's not made with a sourdough starter. That's not sourdough. And I had a sourdough starter that was really good, and I killed it, because if you don't feed that fucking thing every day, it will die.
So creepy.
Yeah.
Honestly, guys, think about how creepy that is. Like, if you went to an alien planet and they were like, oh yeah, we have this like single-celled organism that vomits up gas, and we use that in our food, and we have to keep it fed, you would be like, thanks, I won't have any of that.
Yep.
I don't want any of that gas vomit in my food.
Sourdough starter is just yeast that is eating flour over and over again.
I mean, cheese too, though. Like, yeah, we take the breast milk of this animal.
If we really think about what some of the stuff we eat is,
yeah,
we won't eat it.
And then there's foods that I'm like,
I don't want you to ruin cheese for
we
me.
Could eat this.
Who looked at an artichoke and said, yeah, let's see what happens if we try to eat that.
Clams.
Ugh.
Yeah, cheese is particularly horrifying, though.
Please don't ruin cheese for me.
I mean, you can't. Even when I know fully how horrifying cheese is, I'm still going to eat the hell out of it. No, like, I worked on a farm where I milked the goat and then made the cheese later that day with the milk. So, I helped to, like, scrape the mold off of the hard cheeses and put them back into the cheese cave. And then I was just like, ooh, good layer of mold today. Scrape that off, put it back. Can't wait to come back and eat this in 6 months. Like,
I mean, I eat blue cheese and that it literally has mold in it. Mm-hmm. But it's good. I don't know why.
Yeah, I just, there are some things that, like, you can try and gross me out. I mean, eggs? It's just like, it's an unborn, it really is a horrible thing.
It's an unborn animal. It's an unfertilized animal.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. I had chickens, and sometimes that was a fertilized egg.
It's like a fucking murder scene.
Made me want to throw up.
But yeah, food's a mess. It's all bad. And so good. I really want pizza now.
We're not even talking about pizza.
Sourdough crust, some cheese on there.
I might order
clams.
pizza too, because the boyfriend is out of town, and I'm not sure that I'm going to feel like cooking once I'm done here.
Anyway. So, alright, this woman is like, yeah, I have clones, and everything has a price, and I won't tell you how I keep this thing under control, but I definitely do. Yada, yada, yada. Villain speech. She's great. She's got this amazing, like, damask chair, and she's wearing in this, like, final scene where they talk to her, an outfit that looks very much like Rita Skeeter. Her costume, because it's like a pantsuit also, but she's got like the fur collar on it and everything. And even her glasses. Yeah, it's a very good look. Honestly, if I worked in an office, I would really want to try and like emulate this sort of look day to day. But it's pretty formal for most American workplaces these days. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless. So, let's see. Do you mind if I borrow a little bit of paper? And this is where he writes down, I'm giving you my telephone number. But doesn't it just say I am a time traveler?
I don't remember.
Oh, it says I'm a time traveler on the outside of it. And he says that someday she's going to be old and she's going to be full of regret. And she's going to need him. And it's like he knows what's going on already. Well, he does, because he's put it together with the storm. That's right. And we see the electrical storm like come sweeping over the whole building. And as this is happening and the lights are going out and everybody inside the bank is beginning to panic, she's like loading a Fabergé egg into her suitcase. Because like the room they're in is full of all of these like priceless treasures. Right? Why are Fabergé eggs worth so much?
I have no idea. They're pretty.
They're fine. They're tacky, let's be honest.
I'm not sure.
They're just... what's the big deal?
I'd be loading, like, Starry Night into my bag.
I'm looking at that room full of stuff, and there's nothing I would care to take. I'm good, thank you. But I have very little, like historical antiquities and whatnot. I don't really give a shit most of the time. Unless it's, like, from a group that's been marginalized and they would want their shit back. Mm-hmm. I don't really care. Even the Fabergé egg, like, just leave it. The anxiety from trying to, like, keep it from breaking. Too much. So at this point, she bounces because she thinks that they are all going to die. So she's saving her own life. But they stand there and wait. And the creature, the alien, comes in and begins to eat the doctor's mind. And the doctor basically is like, yeah, eat my mind. Eat it! You can see why I'm here. You tell me what's in my mind. You can tell. And eventually, this thing realizes that the doctor is here to help him break out the other of his kind, or her kind, I don't know, from the vault. And so they open it up and release the other, and it's a happy ending. Eventually, they get just dropped off on a planet.
Yeah, an isolated planet, because they're to live their lives free of the, like, telepathic noise.
That makes sense.
So they're on this isolated planet.
Now, I thought that they were eating those mines. Don't they need mines to eat? Isn't that their food?
I don't think it was food. I think it's just something that they do.
Oh. Huh. Okay. I thought that was like, I thought she said like lunch is served or something, but maybe she's just like a horrible person who says things like that.
Yeah, I mean, she does say that maybe it's the doctor that calls it soup.
Yeah, he does. He's the one. Ugh, gross. So the doctor, in his memories, we get to see the call from the old Madame Karabraxos telling him about her regret and what she wants him to do. And that's when the other creature goes and opens the vault door, and we find the other one who is in there with the collar around its neck, and it's very pathetic and sad, honestly. And they all get on the TARDIS. They drop the others off. Eventually, we see them all chit-chatting and eating takeout as the doctor tells what sounds like a very unfunny anecdote about the Leaning Tower of Pisa. They all laugh uproariously, and I'm like, guys, not actually that funny, but it's fine. And I'm wondering if we're going to see these guys again, because they were very enjoyable, you know? And I'm here for heists, so if we decide to do another one, I wouldn't mind having them come back again. We could have it just be a heist of a different vibe, and that would be fine. I really enjoy how uncomfortable the doctor is getting hugs, by the way, because Sabra hugs him goodbye, and his arm, it's just like hanging at his side in this, like, it's just a very sort of like, oh, God. He wants to, like, put his arm somewhere, but also not touch her. And let's see, what is the last thing that he says? That there's no lasting effects from their memories being erased. He tells Clara that, right? Right before she leaves to go on her date. And as she does, he turns around and he says, robbing a bank, robbing a whole bank. Beat that for a date. And I was like, is that meant to imply that he's, like, trying to outdo Mr. Pink? Because it feels like it, but I'm also not getting the vibe that he's, like, interested in her.
No, it's like he doesn't like not having her attention, though.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. He's such a child, I swear. So that's the end of the episode. But yeah, I rather like this one. I thought it was fun. Just a heist is always neat. I appreciate there being a surprise twist at the end that I really just didn't see coming. Because I think I actually skipped over the part where they, like, show up and they're fine. But they had been left in a room to be executed, supposedly. And it turns out that the two trusted soldiers were actually our friends Sabra and Sai in disguise. Yeah. So, surprise. Is there anything else that you wanted to add about this one? Is there trivia or anything of the like?
No trivia.
Okay. I have some new patrons I can say hi to.
Okay.
We have, these past 2 weeks, Brownberry, Tracy Tuttle, Noor, Dana Cook, Vicky Hentz, Sarah Kratke, Abigail McBride, Ofer Guthman, Edu Torres, and Jazz. So welcome to all of you. Thank you all so much for pledging. FYI, I had been using Mighty Network, but I'm going to be shutting that down because it just, people don't want to leave Facebook, as it turns out. So if you are a new patron, there is a patron group on Facebook for you, and posted in the announcements there are all of the different Facebook groups that I have created to make your discussions of things that include spoilers a little bit easier, as well as some groups. There's a group that Jamie made for pets. There's all kinds of stuff. So if you are a patron and you would like to get in on the community, you can find that post, like I said, in the announcements of the patrons only group. But I also think that I put the links to some of those groups in the message when you sign up. So you should get, a notification for that too. Also, Owen and I are 2 episodes into coverage of Clone Wars. And by episodes, I mean like podcast episodes, not the show's episodes. And the second one is about the Clone Wars movie, which is very, very bad. And we really were not nice to it, but it didn't deserve it. So it's fine.
You guys weren't as harsh on it as I feared you would be. Given your disclaimer, I expected worse. So
you heard it here first, folks. Nothing but praise from me and Owen about Clone Wars.
Didn't say that. Just that I thought it was going to be worse.
So yeah, if you're interested in that, you can go to unspoiledpodcast.com and click the Clone Wars banner. And in each of the posts for the episodes, there's a link to the watch list order if you would like to watch along.
Also, if you join the Clone Wars spoiler group, I posted the order there and did what in groups is the equivalent of pinning it to the top.
Right, announcements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because someone messaged me that they couldn't find the watch list on the website.
Guys, it's in the... Okay. All right. Sure. Good. Thank you for taking care of that, Jamie.
I didn't go to the website to figure it out and give them instructions. I was just like, it's fine. I copied and pasted it and made it a post to make it easier, just in case people can't find it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you doing that. And the Clone Wars spoiler group, you are the admin of?
Yes.
So you will be in charge of all of the discussion surrounding that and the moderation of everybody's expectations of our reaction to upcoming episodes. And I think that is about it.
I do have a review.
Ooh, okay, cool.
It is How Did I Miss This? 5 stars by Mama Affolter from the United States. I started listening to Unspoiled in 2018, going back into the archives to follow the Harry Potter read-through. I loved it. Rashawn and Natasha are delightful. The podcast app gave suggestions for loads of Unspoiled shows, and I searched for what was on the Unspoiled network eagerly. It wasn't until the end of 2020 that I realized Natasha was covering Doctor Who. I love Doctor Who to a truly unhealthy level as a teenager. Surely in this era of reconsuming old obsessions, this is the #1 podcast for me. I am already in season 4 and look forward to listening live in maybe 2 weeks. LOL.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Same.
It's always funny to me when people who were Unspoiled listeners of something else don't realize that there's like a whole, a show covering another title that they were into. Because there are so many Unspoiled shows now, I can understand how things sort of slip under the radar.
Well, and if somebody comes in for, like, Harry Potter, and they're listening to the old Harry Potter stuff, they're not going to be getting anything on those episodes about anything that's currently running. Right.
Yeah, and of course with Spoil Me as well, people will be like, I wish that you would eventually cover so-and-so, and I'm like, well, I did actually. But it's a Spoil Me, so it's not like where you would expect it to be. Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate that. Always excited when there's a new review, even though I don't check reviews anymore because sometimes they make me angry. So, and then sometimes when they make me angry, I screenshot them and make them a banner image to the official Facebook page for the show because I can't help it because it's hilarious. But that's because I'm a feminist propaganda podcast and I can't control myself.
That's true. Somebody's got to get you out of that cult.
That cult has brainwashed me. I especially love whenever anybody is like, her husband left her, and I'm like, that's not exactly what happened.
It always amuses me that they didn't realize that he was more feminist than you back then.
Oh my god, yeah. But because he's a boy mouth saying it,
yeah,
it's fine.
That's right.
Boy mouths are inherently less offensive than girl mouths. In most cases, anyway. So many problems. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, guys, thank you again so much for listening, and I appreciate your patience with us taking the last couple weeks off. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we will be back to our regularly scheduled programming. So we will see you next week with a new episode. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.
Spoiled Network podcast.